It's quite the kick when you hear it. In Scam 2003, the Telgi story, we get another outrageous tale of greed based on a real-life figure. The same rich casting and delightfully detailed period setting. But nothing gets you pumped to dive into another frenzied fable of fraud, quite like Achin Thakkar's thrilling opening score. When that beat drops, you're all in. After 2020's clutter-breaking Scam 1992, the Harshad Mehta story, directed by Hansal Mehta, and starring in unforgettable Pratik Gandhi, we now get Scam 2003, the Telgi story, which stars an excellent Gagan Devrier as Abdul Karim Telgi, the man behind the stamp paper scam, which we're told amounted to 30,000 crore. Not unlike Harshad's own meteoric rise, Scam 1992 was a thunderous smash hit, and it made me immensely happy that one of our most well-told stories on streaming also became one of our most popular shows. This time, Tushar Hiranandani takes over as director, with Hansal Mehta serving as showrunner. While it's not quite as sharp, sturdy and sexy as Harshad Mehta's season, Scam 2003 is a worthy follow-up nonetheless. But that's based on merely the first 5 episodes, considering SonyLIV has decided to release the season in 2 parts. It's like trying to discuss a movie you've only seen the first half of, especially in stories such as this, where the fall from grace informs the rise to power and vice versa. We're only seeing half the picture. Unlike Scam 92's terrific first episode, which made it incredibly difficult to stop watching, the Telgi story doesn't quite hit the ground running in the same way. We're introduced to Abdul Karim Telgi, a born salesman living in a small town in Karnataka in 1982, who moves to Mumbai in search of a better life. In less than a decade, he goes from selling fruit on a train to making a living forging fake certificates to help poor people get opportunities overseas, to then applying himself to more nefarious, lucrative activities once he recognizes the value in forging stamp paper. It's an opening chapter that left me more curious and intrigued by him rather than desperate for more. It's partly because the jumpy narrative skips through much of his early career, casually skirting over the 7 years he spent in the Gulf. It also consistently sidelines his wife and daughter. I've watched 5 episodes and I still don't know what they think he does. In the interest of nitpicking, I'm also not quite sure why everyone in a small town in Karnataka, which Telgi keeps travelling back to, speaks to each other exclusively in Hindi. The hand-holdy voiceover narration also certainly doesn't help. Parts of the show are narrated by Telgi spoon-feeding us his own story. I don't remember being this put off by the voiceover in Scam 92, partly because it came from a different character, Shreya Dhanvantri's Sucheta Dalal, and was used as a device to build up the legend of Harshad Mehta. Whereas here it's used to explain the plot at us. In the 4th episode, for example, Telgi makes a deal to source a specific kind of cotton paper he needs to make immaculate forgeries of stamp paper. It's abundantly clear what's happening and why. And yet after he makes the deal, we still get a voiceover explaining to us why he needs this special paper. It's clearly conveyed yet still repeated and underlined. But for the most part, the Telgi story has the same winning storytelling style as its predecessor, seamlessly using high drama and winning dialogue to bring the masala, while creating an authentic lived-in world through Mukesh Chhabra's keen casting and production designer Madhusudan N's wonderfully textured spaces. At its best, I enjoyed how well plotted and accessible the storytelling is. The portion of the story set in Nasik in the 3rd and 4th episodes in particular are thoroughly engaging. It plays out almost like a heist thriller as we see Abdul assemble a team, case the joint of a highly secure government factory, and put in weeks of groundwork to figure out how to get his hands on a printing machine. Watching him tirelessly work on getting an honest government officer played by a terrific Vivek Mishra to flip is an absolute blast. But the Telgi story doesn't have the same delicious dialogue bazi and memorable frames from last time. Who can forget Risk Hai to Ishq Hai, or the way the suffocating chaos of the Bombay Stock Exchange was stunningly shot. I also found it interesting that while Scam 92 was more enamored by the character of Harshad himself, the Telgi story seems more fixated on the intricacies and specifics of the scam. I still couldn't explain to you how Harshad Mehta fraudulently made his millions. But what I can't forget is his charisma in the series, his presence, his persona, his lovably arrogant charm. Whereas with Telgi, while I know exactly how he did what he did, I'm not quite sure I can say the same for him. But Gagan is still a joy to watch, especially early on before he becomes a big man. I love the gentle, warm presence and disarmingly innocent smile Gagan brings as the smooth salesman who gets in your head and wins you over without you even realizing it. Even the figures around Harshad in Scam 1992 were distinctive and memorable. Who can forget Shreya Dhanwanteri's Sucheta Dalal, Faisal Rashid as her colleague Debashish, Satish Kaushik as Black Cobra aka Manu Mundra, Jay Upadhyay as Pranav Sheth, Rajat Kapoor as the threatening CBI officer, and I could literally go on. But here, writers Kiran Yadnopavit, Kedar Patankar and Karan Vyas don't manage to muster figures who are quite as memorable among this season's sea of corrupt politicians and crooked cops. Scam 2003 works best when it zooms in on particular events in Telgi's life, rather than when it zooms out and glazes over his journey and rise as it does in much of the 4th and 5th episodes. It's by no means a disappointing start to the season, it's just that the bar is set so impossibly high. You can watch part 1 of Scam 2003 on SonyLIV.